Here we are. It's already cold, so getting colder than yesterday, so we're gonna have to put on these gloves. Yours truly, it is Tuesday, February 4th, and no tariffs, postponed for a month. That was a good decision. Congratulations, I guess, to my cousin Trudeau, Granddaddy Trump, who I don't agree with, except for maybe one thing. At least, if we can agree on one thing, that means that we're not really enemies, although still challenging Donald Trump to a boxing match on the Canadian-US border, as have been ever since 2018. Gonna go towards the sunset. A little bit of that rock and roll, you know how it is, the drill. Rock and roll 24/7 for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the grocery store clerks, the welders, the electricians, and the plumbers heading west. 5 o'clock p.m., maybe we're gonna go on that XYZ like that, like a little bit like a snake. How we can see, maybe to get best. Maybe it's best if we traverse prudently and just head off. Just make sure you cross the street prudently. Turn your head left and right before you cross the street. Left and right. I see somebody crossing the streets there, or however the case may be. So we're just gonna go to the bridge, go back, and then zigzag across my neighborhood a little bit, you know, over time. Maybe do some push-ups, maybe go to see the gymnasium in the public gymnasium where it's at, and I'm just gonna traverse to check on the road there and see maybe I can go all the way to get down to that light and hearing some of that rock and roll a little bit, maybe country a little bit. I don't know what type of music is that exactly. Sounds a bit like that rock and roll, and whatever the case may be. Here we go. Now it's on the red there, so I can cross, take the street left, right. Always cross the street prudently, and we gotta get it on the go. So now we're gonna go like zigzagging through the back and go towards the sunset, you know, because I want to get back to see the sun. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to, but I pulled the king side earlier when I was shoveling snow. Anyways, special Dragon versus Trump. Postpone proposing a marriage alliance, because I'm going to postpone it until maybe a few days, a few weeks. And, you know, I got to get myself a ring. Maybe tomorrow I'm going to go buy a ring secondhand, because all that's going to afford. Financially stressed, you know. I'm financially stressed, but open for business besides financial stress. I'm pretty good, rock and roll, you know. Survived COVID. I'm marking 5 years. I guess I'm going to start celebrating tomorrow, doing a live with on Facebook live stream, and on the YouTube channel, YouTuber, Rainbow Dragon, ASCII artist, athlete, philosopher, geopolitical, theoretical analyst, and theorist, who has predicted in a major part of the international conflagration that's ongoing now as a geopolitical, theoretical analyst and theorist, which I am, you know. I gotta give a shout out for those who cleared the workers who crossed the streets here and who cleared the way, you know, the path. So I always got to give a salutation to the public workers. Please, NFL, National Football League, NHL, National Hockey League, NBA, National Basketball Association, MLB. Please give them some tickets to the public workers of North America. Those who pick up the garbage, the sanitation, thank you for picking up the garbage collection yesterday, and the recycling, and that's that sanitation. And I got 3 services, public services in my neighborhood, you know, which I gotta salute, because it takes that arbeit, you know, civilization being a privilege. And besides financial stress, I'm open for business, always applied, and some responses I have to do lots of, I'm gonna do some medical checkups for my eyes, optometrist, and have some scars which kind of cause itchiness. I discussed in the past, you know, which gotta get some cream or something, you know, because I get irregular itchiness. Is like kind of like, feels like, you know, ants are just roaming a bit, just irregularly, but it happens quite on the daily, you know. Sometimes I gotta just scratch, and gotta patch it. I gotta check on my body, you know, with the dermatologist, but I checked 3 dermatologists on both. One was $299, the other one was $300. So I said at the moment I can't afford to pay, because I gotta check, and my dream is the public-private partnership balance. You know, we gotta have the public and the private, you know. We gotta have a balance, so that's why I'm calling on millionaires, you know. Mass finance, my dream, and my DRTT, which I've discussed in the past, which we're gonna rock and roll with today, and take a little moment to appreciate this big evergreen in my neighborhood. Appreciate the evergreen. Evergreen. Look at the sing song along. Gotta rock and roll, Rainbow Dragon here to the song of the sunset. Till I rock and roll on the freestyle as I go. Towards the sun, oh yeah. Maybe we're gonna catch that sunset. See? Maybe we're gonna catch that sunset. That's where we're heading. Sunset is later and later and later. Days are getting longer, and it's always red in rising, red in setting, red in rising. So I'm auctioning this red hoodie, auctioning the red scarf, always auctioning, of course, what I'm wearing on me. And I'm gonna go by the side there to get it going. And hopefully we're gonna make it on time just to get a little bit of glance on that. So I encourage you all to work out and exercise, and exercising today. Yesterday I did more than 5 hours. More than 5 hours, you know. So today, can I probably clock in? I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure, as long as I average four minimum, or 4 hours for 5 days a week. So that has to be average. So sometimes I do more and less, and they average to about 4 hours a day. So if I do a day, I do an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3.5. That means I gotta do 5.5 or 6 for it to average. But weekly, I average, even last week, I fluctuated kind of a lot, from 5 hours and 6 hours to an hour and a half and to 1 hour 44 minutes. So this week, I don't know, I'm just gonna see how I feel today. I feel pretty good to go between 4 hours and 6. Between 4 hours and 6, you know, my average is about 5, I guess. For more than 4, average is about 4 hours and a half, closer to 5, because sometimes with closer to 5 actually, the average, I guess. If we do all the averages for last year, I think I would average 5, because sometimes it's 4 and 10 minutes, 4 and 20 minutes daily marches, dancing, you know, as I do my marches now. I had a big late lunch, gotta salute the farmers, and I'm glad that the news was in now that those tariffs were postponed, because I believe there were alternatives. And you know, I don't know about that 51st state, but I have been my dream, the dancing goddess in the Dragon Kingdom, which is fundamentally a call for a public-private partnership. Fundamentally a call for a public-private partnership, the dancing goddess in the Dragon Kingdom, a joint North American public-private partnership, security, service, and defense, and rebirth, and some joy with it, being a pro-labor and love universal revolutionary centrism. My centrism is pro-North American collective, and it's public-private partnership based on my Trinity of theories, which I'm calling all willingly loving. Pledge your allegiance to our family, friends with benefits only. Pledge your allegiance to our family, friends with benefits only. Pledge your allegiance, friends with benefits only to our family, you know, and heading towards my Pope, the King, the Son, and friends with benefits only, you know. Gotta get that XYZ, and friends with benefits only. Pledge your allegiance to our family. And this Quebecer Canadian who was born in the USA 3 times, post 70-76, once as a woman, twice as a man, and that's where we're gonna rock and roll. And got a red hoodie on, got a beautiful blue jacket, thanks to my anonymous friend for the blue jacket, and actually for this one, the gray, but it has some color on it. And of course I can guess. I think also the jeans also, and this, and this. So I guess at least 5 items that I'm wearing that are gifted from my anonymous friend, you know, who if I make a man gonna give half, that 50%, you know. So that's what it is with that. And gotta get all the way to the sun, get a little of the sun. I don't think I'm gonna get much sun, because now every minute is going, it's not going away actually, the sun, right? It's just some sort of like illusion, natural illusions. Because if we check on the time zones on the West Coast, Vancouver, Seattle, San Francisco, LA, we gotta subtract 3 hours. So if it's 5:15 now, that means -3 is 2:15 there. So they're still in the good afternoon, you know. They still have a while to rock and roll with the sun, you know. So the sun is always rising, always setting. The sun at any second is always rising and always setting. So the sun is always rising, always setting. There's always a sunset and a sunrise every second somewhere in the world, and it's always red in rising, red in setting. And it's something which, of course, myself, not only the solar, but we got that moon there, moon, you know. You gotta get that goddess in my will to build, you know, no forgotten goddess temple. That's something, my number one structure, a building that I will to build parallel to the North American People's Imperial Coliseum for the Dragon Army. And of course the Dancing Goddess Army, DGA for the DGA for dancing on the Canadian-US border. The Forgotten Goddess, GODDESS, the Forgotten Goddess Temple. The Forgotten Goddess Temple. The Forgotten Goddess Temple. Forgotten Goddess Temple. The Forgotten Goddess Temple, you know. Forgotten Goddess. GODDESS. Goddess, as I credit me surviving COVID 5 years ago. Survived COVID February 2020, February, March 2020, you know. It was like death, pestilence, and disease. It was like death, pestilence, and disease. It was like death, pestilence, and disease. I know when I say that, kind of sing it, it was like death, pestilence, and disease. It's kind of like sounds like a hardcore death thrash metal song, you know? One of those trash rock and roll, hardcore metal, death metal, trash metal songs, you know? But that's really how I felt like in 2020 February. Around mid-February, I think between the 7th, it started around the 7th of February, I think. Something like that, 7th. I started feeling sick around the 7th of February until about early March. But the more intensity was for only like a few days. And I thought that was it. I really died during COVID, and I don't think that I will to go back to. I live for today, carpe diem it every day. February 4th, Tuesday, tariffs postponed for a month due to several concessions on the border. And of course, I say we do not need the border. What we need is to do a census, a North American collective census, to see everybody who's been living here since 2017 and assess some language and do, of course, digital prints and assess and do a little bit of the rock and roll with it and do a little bit of that common passport and common currency. And I'm just gonna salute the public workers. Whenever I see work like this, it reminds me of my financial theory, the DRT theory, debt refusion theory for the creation of the UE, and how by implementing it we're gonna be able to mass finance the reconstruction, the building of course, projects across the North American collective. The bridges needs to be rebuilt, the bridges, the aqueducts, and I gotta send some safety and some LOV. See, there's propane gas there, so there's always a question of security and service and security, because of course we have, and we are now open to potential sabotage, you know, due to our involvement in several conflicts. And we got involved not only in a humanitarian manner by providing financial aid, but we have been involved now in a military armament manner, providing armaments and weapons and other diplomatic help support. So we made potential enemies of powerful nation states, countries, nuclear capable countries, which can potentially, of course, open to sabotage and espionage. So we are open for sabotage and espionage. So the protocol is how we gotta do drill. And of course, me having Asperger's, being neurodivergent, I always have to build bridges between myself as a member of a neurodivergent community, because I'm a part of a tiny minority, less than 1%, less than half of a percentile, 0.44% of for Canada, speaking from a Canada, North American perspective, have Asperger's, like myself, which is not a mental illness. It is a neurological mental divergent condition, which makes us Aspies predisposed to special focused interests, where we can spend hours and hours and hours on our daily routine activities involved in those special interests. And my holy trinity is, because I got three, the holy trinity: geopolitics. I spent again 5 hours. I drank 2 cups of coffee, then I realized, oh my gosh, I did one laundry because I had some backlog. So I did a laundry, I checked emails for business, see if I get some employment, some calls, some opportunities, as I am financially stressed. But rent's paid, electricity bill's paid, gotta be grateful. Paid my rent for the month of February, paid my electricity bill, and I can rock and roll. And now I'm FREE, but freedom. Now also with my neurodivergence as an individual who's part of the collective, Quebecer, Canadian, North American, Canadian, Quebecer, North American. Right? Because I'm thinking from a North American perspective, I am a North American. But for my brothers and sisters down south, they are south of us Canadians. We are north of you, you know, so we got to get that North American Union for sure. And nonetheless, as an individual, part of a collective, to secure the individual liberty, right? And most people deserve second, third chances, whatever it is, and whatever we can bring on the table. I put first and foremost 700 trillions of kisses, kisses by the trillions. KISSES, kisses by the trillions created from the goddess. That's the first. I'm laying the foundations for the first kingdom and empire to be founded, and laid the foundations thereof with 718 trillions of kisses. Trillions of kisses I got created from the forgotten goddess. So if you want a million, pledge your allegiance, millions of kisses. Some rock and roll, some steps, marching steps already marched. More than all the generals of NATO combined just this February. February 4th today, February 4th. By when I came back, by the time I get back to my headquarters, Dragon's Lair, I would have already been marched. More than the generals of NATO, I already have marched more than the generals of NATO combined, during COVID. So that's just how it is, Loving a little bit of that bright colors. Love me some lights here and there. Those beautiful lights. Gotta give a salutation to Hydro-Quebec. Hello to Hydro-Quebec workers of the past as well, because my brothers and sisters, well, civilization is a privilege. Bus drivers, LOV, some rock and roll for the bus conductors, drivers, school teachers. We taught a little bit of that algebra, mathematics, maybe some French here. We love our French language as Quebecers, Canadians, and it is the great linguistic compromise which we made of the French language. We made this great linguistic compromise back in a long time ago, right? The great linguistic compromise, we made it a long time ago, and here's the name of the street which I kind of love, LOV. One of my favorite names of the street here, it's called West Broadway. West Broadway. Here's the name of the street, and kind of one of my favorite names for the street-wise, I meant West Broadway. So I'm going towards the sun now, always meditating again for my security, my liberty, my work, to be in balance, in harmony with somebody else's as well, with somebody else's as well. My work, my balance, my theory, my work, to be balanced with somebody else's work. And my individual, as an individual part of the collective, to be also secured in liberty with all others. Because I'm in the public, now I got added responsibilities, duties, and obligation. And as we are together, constitute a collective North American civilizational complex. Thank you to those who cleared the streets in the past days. See some good work here and there. Public workers, send some LOV to those who were involved in the snow removal operations. We had a little bit of a storm yesterday, quite a short but intense. So see, it was kind of warm. Also, it was like 0 degrees. And then it got cooler. Today's a bit cooler. It's kind of what it's supposed to be really today. About -7, going down a bit, -9. But if there's wind, it's going to increase in the feeling of the cold. It's going to just seem colder than what it actually is, or whatever have you. So encouraging all to work out, train, exercise, support the dream. My dream fundamentally is for a public-private partnership, for the collective North American civilizational complex, for North America, for the creation of 2 complementary covenant and cooperative institutions integrated at all levels with all existing private and public institutions. That's my dream, the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom. When I say support the dream, is fundamentally that's what it is, a call for a public-private partnership as a geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist, philosopher, artist, athlete, and mystic, believer in reincarnation. And from the geopolitical perspective, being that, again, I have Asperger's, it's always building bridges between myself and others, always building bridges between myself and others, and of course always under reliant of the bridges to build continuously, to build bridges continuously. And sometimes which my neurodivergence makes me predisposed to certain special interests and obsessive interests, and that's what it is with that. So that's what we gotta get doing. And I always have to build bridges between myself as a neurodivergent, and I live with hypervigilance a bit. I do live with hypervigilance. I have flashes of memories of trauma and survive being attacked by surprise, and it's those from the trauma that live with, so. But I've been working out. If you know, I played that defense because I don't like violence. I do not like violence. I do not like violence. I do not like violence. I played that defense, and we gotta have some justice, and we gotta play that defense like that harbor ball, Gonna play that defense like that harbor ball. Gonna play that defense like that harbor ball. Harbor ball. We're gonna play that defense like that harbor ball when my 49ers lost, But nonetheless, I guess you could say that Super Bowl was won by defense. Because it was only by 3 points, so it was holding down my 49ers not to score, so it was kind of more defense, but not as defensive. But one of my top 5 Super Bowls is actually not that well liked. It is the last Super Bowl Tom Brady played to win with the Patriots against the Rams. I think it was Super Bowl 52. 2019, February 2019, or February 3rd, 2019, I believe, where against the Rams, it finished 13-3. It was the lowest ever scoring Super Bowl. 13-3 was the lowest ever scoring Super Bowl. 13-3 was the lowest ever scoring Super Bowl. Because although dancing is my favorite sport and dancing is my favorite fitness activity, I'm actually busting a dance move with my hands here and there, my head and my feet, my toes mostly. But nonetheless, I do love football, gridiron, football. I do love football, gridiron. I do love football and gridiron. So dancing is my favorite sport, and boxing and what have you. So that's something which I love with that. But nonetheless, one of my favorite Super Bowls is that one, paradoxically, where it was a low-scoring Super Bowl. It ended 13-3, so only 16 points total. 13, but the Patriots scored 13, and the Rams 3. The lowest ever scoring Super Bowl. It finished 13-3. Gotta turn my head left and right here, although there's a one-way. You never know, the cars might interject and the brakes malfunction and the citizen driver presses the accelerator, so I gotta add a little bit of prudence because I'm in the public, so doing a little bit of stretches with the neck, a little bit of stretches by the hips, and start already get the fitness, today. And I encourage all the workout and exercise. I have been calling, and I'm calling for the mass financing via public-private partnership, the mass financing via the public-private partnership for citizens to be mass financed to work out and exercise. Ever since 2017, when I crossed Canada coast to coast. Before that, I was depressed, I was suicidal, and in 2017, in August, went to Vancouver, BC, out west, then came back in September, went to Halifax, Nova Scotia. So that event, crossing Canada coast to coast, that made me come out of being depressed and suicidal, and ever since then I started working out, training, exercising, and started working out, and that was my workout fitness program, which I created back in 2019 in October, November, paradoxically to go hand in hand with a World War III scenario. So that's what I am, an independent fitness captain, athlete, and geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist. And I created a simple, effective, efficient workout training program system, which I perform myself more than 372 sessions posted online. And of course, I have been repeating that. And of course, I am kind of in a World War III mode ever since 2019, because I predicted much of what's happening now, the deterioration of international relations, intensification of conflicts, and massive rearmament, which is pretty much at par with what's been going on lately. And I predicted, not in a detailed manner, but in a general manner, I predicted in 2019 an international conflagration. And again, to summarize it, my conclusion was due to the fact that many nation states, regions, and countries were not able to completely come to a peaceful agreement and resolution of their conflicts from the 20th century, mainly the Cold War period, that those conflicts are going to be restarting again, that those conflicts are going to be starting again. So that's what I predicted back then, back then. So back then, having predicted that, of course, I created my workout training program system, and I performed more than 372 sessions, more than 372, lost between 80 and 93 pounds, somewhere between 80 and 93 pounds. And I always say my fitness journey commences every day. Today, my fitness journey begins. I'm just going to cross because I have a thing for red, and there's some red lights there. Actually, all the colors play that rainbow dragon, rock and roll. So I always like when I pass here to just gaze a little bit of those beautiful lights there. As you can see, they're quite nice. They're quite nice. They're quite nice there, super nice how they are. Kind of cool. In the corner, on the wall, on the wall. So that's what it is with that. That's what it is with that. And that's how we gotta get doing, So it's something which, of course, I gotta be transposing, and I gotta be, of course, on the lookout for black ice, on the lookout for black ice. That's what it is with that, and that's what we gotta get doing, So it is something which is on the translucent side, which lights come from Hydro-Quebec, hydroelectricity, from Hydro-Quebec and hydroelectricity. So that's what we gotta get doing, So that's what we gotta get do. Sometimes you just gotta be starting your fitness journey now, as you can go, So that's what it is with that. That's what it is, and that's how we gotta get doing, And sometimes it can seem hard, at the beginning. And it's been a long journey, Fitness journeys. Was depressed, suicidal. Got out of being depression by crossing Canada coast to coast, crossing Canada coast to coast, crossing Canada coast to coast. So that event made me establish the strong esprit de corps. My fellow Canadians, our family, Quebecers, Canadians, North Americans also. Crossing Canada coast to coast, that really changed my whole life, because I said, of course, how many things to see, to do, how many things to see, to do across North America, and here we are. We made it at the bridge, on the sunset and the sunrise. We made it at the bridge. We made it at the bridge, and we're gonna go all the way to the train tracks by the side, I guess, there, and see how that goes. And here we are. Gotta imagine, salute the public workers who build the bridges, the aqueducts of the North American civilizational complex, Here we are. For the train conductors, LOVE, train conductors, butchers, first responders, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, support my dream. For the North American Democratic Republic, the Unionists, were true north, strong and free. My brothers and sisters in the USA are the land of the free, home of the brave. But land of the free, home of the brave is along with the true north, strong and free. Well, you gotta add some LOV in that, Gotta add some LOV in that. Please, mayonnaise, BNS, donate to charity 10% and support the dream. All willingly loving, pledge your allegiance to our family, beautiful sunset. And of course, gotta salute the most important thing, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, those flipping some hamburgers, cheeseburgers, flipping some salads in the fast foods. Those, who change some diapers in the daycares. Those who change some diapers in the daycares, I always say, interject, Mr. Generals, 4-star, 3-star, 5 stars, and Minister of National Defense, Security Defense Minister. I'm gonna say Uncle Bill Blair, and Cousin Hegseth, Pete Hegseth. You gotta put a new protocol for the NORAD, Dragon Army Protocol Initiative, before you put on a uniform for security, Gotta go change some diapers, because you're gonna see who are defending us. Security 4 stars with the daycares, the children being innocent, Then we're gonna move on to the next, Gotta be careful here, because gotta get it on the transmission, but I was supposed to get priority because it's a pedestrian, but I was given priority by one, but not by the other, so that's why I stopped and I checked. It's always good to check, but there you're supposed to have priority, for the pedestrians. The cars are supposed to give where you have crossing like that. The line is pedestrians, so because cars, at the end of the day, can be fancy $1 million cars, but at the end of the day they're metal on wheels, so I'm driving these boots. Oh yeah, thank you to my anonymous friend again. I found a 6th item. And the 7th already. I found the seven items. The bag also, the lion bag. See, the lion bag, the lion bag also. So, and the laces, for the boots, rainbow laces, auctioning them. Every item for $1 million. So if you want to buy each item that I'm wearing now, including the lion bag, each item $1 million. That's $7 million. Gonna give 50% half to my anonymous friend, pay my debt, and buy the first bricks for the construction of both the Forgotten Goddess Temple, which I will to build on the Canadian-US border. Forgotten Goddess Temple, and the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, 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 and the Forgotten Goddess Temple, That's what we gotta be doing. And here in the metropolis, island city, surrounded by a big river, my island metropolis, Hawk Island, H-A-W-K, Hawk, H-A-W-K, my totem bird, Montreal. 2.5 million people. There's some beautiful lights there. Still on that February. Surrounded by a big river, Montreal Island. My home in this life, in the past life, sometimes was born a man or woman. In the USA, was born 3 times. Once as a woman, twice as a man. Served in the United States Armed Forces. Same army, 2 different wars. 156 years apart were the wars, and that's what it is with that. And that's what we gotta get doing with the XYZ, and sometimes we just gotta be feeling, and doing. It requires doing. Finish journey, I always say, begins today. Every day is like carpe diem it. Since I died of COVID in 2020, I'm gonna start celebrating 5 years, as I'm celebrating 5 years since I predicted an international conflagration parallel to what's the equivalent to what's happening now worldwide in terms of politics and geopolitics. And 7 years ago, I crossed Canada coast to coast. That event in 2017, August and September, made me establish a strong esprit de corps with my fellow Canadians, and there's so much to see, to do here. Quebec, Canada, so much great place, great spaces. So that made me have a revelation when I crossed Canada and I established a strong esprit de corps. My fellow Canadians, consider they are family, Quebecers and North Americans also. My brothers and sisters in the USA, and all who come to join here, to join us in the collective. All who come to join here in the collective North American civilizational complex, 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 which is an emergent civilizational complex, meaning that it is new. It is a newly formed civilization, but it's a civilizational complex which is not totally divorced from Western civilization, but it is distinct and new, right? Because here we're new, Quebec, Canada, formed from different nations, different people, immigration, and history is new, right? It's still an emergent, still a becoming. So it's time to get rid of that border, time for a common passport, common currency, time for the kingdom. The king is absent, my fellow Canadians. The king is absent, my fellow Canadians. The king is absent. It's time for the republic. It's time for the republic. So that's what we gotta get doing with the consternation as we go. So we gotta get doing, and gotta check on that moon. And we gotta get doing on that moon, and sometimes we gotta get on the sun with it. We gotta get on the sun with it. So it's something which we gotta do. It takes doing. My theories have to be implemented, understood, and implemented. As much as I'm always try to build bridges between myself, part of a tiny minority of neurodivergence, and I myself as an individual asking myself at some things I am mediocre, average, so-so, being average, mediocre, so-so, being average, mediocre, so-so, being average, mediocre, so-so. Some things, social interactions, having sometimes awkward bodily movements and weird habits of inspecting things close to the eye, and weird mannerisms of movements, and ritualized like behaviors and mannerisms which can seem awkward to certain individuals who don't know what Asperger's, also known as HFA, is, which is a neurological mental divergent condition, which is not a mental illness. It's just a neurodivergence, part of a minority of 0.44, not even half of a percentile, not even 1%, not even half of a percent, less than half of a percent. 0.44 estimated in 2017 people who have Asperger's. So that's maybe not even 1 out of 300. So just to make a calculation vis-a-vis the population, so tiny minority, being also part of the LGBTQ minority. LGBTQ millennials, I think the numbers are higher. They are higher. I think it's 5%. How come there's none from the NFL playing NHL, NBA, MLB? Get that money, right? It's okay. I get it. But please, give some tickets to the firefighters, NFL, National Football League, NHL, National Hockey League, NBA, National Basketball Association, MLB. Give some tickets. Super important to give some tickets to the players, to the NFL, National Football League, NHL, National Hockey League, NBA, National Basketball Association, MLB, to give them some tickets on that, to give them some tickets for them to play, and to enjoy for the service. Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to see. Thank you, Hydro-Quebec, workers of the past. Let's build more dams, rock and roll. Hydro-Quebec, let's build more dams. Hydro-Quebec, rock and roll. Let's build more dams. Hydro-Quebec, rock and roll. Let's build more dams. Hydro-Quebec, rock and roll. Time to build more dams like this one. Time to build more dams like this one. Super important. And look at that star. Many stars. You got a little bit of that. Heaven's gotta check where Scorpio is and Leo is. And oh yeah, this is exactly what yes, I'm happy, joyous now. Double than what I was, although still financially stressed. Hoping for business, but this is what I wanted to see here. See the sunset, so I'm gonna go make a little song in the sunset there. And then go back, continue my march, and switch it to that French a little bit later on. But yeah, this is what I wanted. That red. That's what I said. Red. That's what I said. Gotta watch my head here turn a bit, cause gotta bend a little bit, Gotta see. That's that red. That's that red. That's that said. And here kind of like, technically you can go up to here, up to there, and up to there, But after that it's like private, and up to here, Yeah! That's that sunset that I said yet. Ready for some sunset rock and roll. Ready, set, hut. Rock and roll for the sunset, farmers, butchers, truckers, nurses, doctors, and the stars. You know the rock and roll. For the sunset and sunrise, that's the red, red, red. That's what I said. Train conductors, that's the way. For the electricians and the plumbers, that's the construction workers. Let's get that. North American Collective Workers Party, let's get that. North American Collective Workers Party, Arbeit, Arbeit, Arbeit. Let's get that. North American Collective Workers Party, Arbeit, Arbeit, Arbeit. Let's get that. North American Collective Workers Party, Arbeit, Arbeit, Arbeit. That's what I said, and the moon and the sun. Gotta scream it. Gotta kiss some of those demons, gotta dance with the archangels. Gotta in the middle where the justice for the goddess temple. And the Colosseum, North Americans United, butchers, bakers, truckers, doctors, and the electricians, and the plumbers, IT workers, that's what's up. Nurses gotta sing, yeah. Bandages, believe it, rock and roll the semen. Hey, you know I gotta scream it. Hey, for y'all to believe it. For y'all to feel it, for the feelings, for the goose. And you know they got the spoons out for them. You know we're gonna rock and roll sunset. There's the star above. Rock and roll sunset. That's a verb. Rock and roll the freestyle rainbow dragon. That's what's up. So that you can hear this. Yes, you know what's up, rock and roll that dudes. As you know, it's me and you, truckers on the road. Hey, they restaurants, the cooks and chefs. Thank you, gotta work and stress, gotta work on bills. Credit cards, the interest paid. Let's get some loot. For the kisses, pay a rainbow. I know I got a sunset, sunrise, rise with my homos. Lesbians, let's go, rainbow, black and white, it's okay. If you're straight, just come for the dance and rock and roll. For the butchers on the workers on the table and the go. In the center, that's a goal. I never fumble, cause I don't play but that rock and the roll. On the road, where they at? The North America, true north, strong and free. You gotta be up in the believe it, you gotta see up in the leave. And you know we got that red. What a beautiful sunset. Let's go mark up in the microphones. You know I ain't got no money for the studio. Need to buy the guitar, that's what I said with the show. For up in the banger, for up in the train conductors, got a choo-choo train right there. For the construction workers, they be going on the cranes, on the lanes up in the planes, on the lanes up in the planes. How many wires you see up in the lane? Train conductors, that's the fame. Train conductors, that's the lane. Train conductors, that's the fame. Train conductors, that's change lanes. With the truckers again, plumbers, got a plumber up. Electricians and the butchers, where's the cooks? You know they bakers, and the nurses and the doctors, gotta scream before the firefighters, LOV. And the teachers, that's the harmony, playing me some mathematics, some geography with it, gotta quiz it for another verse so that you can feel it, for another verse so that you can feel it, for the rock and roll so that you see it, for the rock and roll so that you be it, for another way of him to believe it, for another way for you believe it, for the kiss up in the shadow, for the kiss up in the light, let's go. That's the sunset and sunrise till the end, you know, Partenariat, bury me with Papa Crowley, up in Hampton, down New Jersey, a third of me up in Mount Royal, third of me city of the pyramids near Cairo, third of me up in the city of near Cairo, pyramids, third of me with Papa Crowley, Hampton, down New Jersey. Tell me I'm in Mount Royal. Bury me, a third of me up in Mount Royal. A third of me with Papa Crowley up in Hampton, down New Jersey. A third of me up in the city of the pyramids so that you know you see. Rainbow Dragon rock and roll for the go. Where they at? That's the Orion, that's the Orion. So that means that's the lion and the snake. That's the star of Scorpios. And you know up in the go up in the low. And the sunset, that's a no. For the firefighters, that's a LOV. And I got that Akadua 93 for the gang C. That Akadua 93 for the gang C. Sunset and sunrise, you know I be For the left and right and center, that's the Babylon that 156 hit. For the kisses, for those kisses. And some left and right and circle, got a goddess that sunset. That's what I said when the kisses and the leaves bury me in my head. That's the Bill Gates, some squeeze. For the computers, supercomputers, that's the satellites, Be me some rock and roll. For the farmers, coast to coast, North Americans unite that union. Let's build that 44. Thumbs up and let's go. Time for the discussion of that DRT, we nation. Pledge your allegiance, legions. Thou our family, no allegiance. Pledge your allegiance, legions. Thou our family, family nation. Pledge your allegiance, legions. Thou our family, family nation. There we go. Woo, that was nice. Time to rock and roll now, but that was nice, and that's what I came for. So I got it. That's what I got. So yeah, beautiful sunset. Let's get it back discussing the DRT now. Time for me to discuss the debt fusion theory. DRT, debt fusion theory, for the creation of the UE, the universal exchange unit, is the solution, my brothers and sisters. There's no other way out of this except something very similar to my DRT theory. What am I making that statement for? I'm making that pronouncement due to the fact that yesterday that is, in the past months, in 2024, on the fiscal budget of Canada, the public debt, making a public debt reference to the public debt of Canada, we paid 46.5 billion, 46.5 billion, 46.5 billion, 46.5 billion on the public debt, just debt servicing, which means interest. Debt servicing is just a word, technical word, terminology, financial terminology, jargon to mean the interest that we paid. So basically the interest that we paid was 46.5 billion. A billion has 9 zeros, that's 46,000 million. In 2020, 2021, the number was 20.3, 20.3, 20.3, 20.3. So in actuality, that number actually more than doubled. If you make the calculation, in 2020, 2021, the number was 20.3 billion. Double that number, 20.3 times 2 would have been 40.6. So it was 46.5 billion. Yes, due to COVID. Due to COVID, we had to implement certain protocols for the sustaining of a population increase in the terms that they were to deal with the COVID health crisis and thus economic health crisis and the lockdowns and all that we went through with the COVID, myself included. I thought I was going to die. I had it, first time I had it right at the beginning. In 2020, February, March 2020, I had it. I really thought I was going to die. And then when I started recovering, then it started to be in the news about COVID. And it was declared by the WHO national pandemic. But anyway, so yes, due to COVID, but nonetheless, it has more than doubled. So make the equivalency. If you or me or somebody if the interest payments would have doubled, let's say on the credit cards from 156 to 333, from 156 to 333, let's say in 2020, 2021, me, you, and somebody else, another citizen, consumer, who paid 156, and then 3 years later, the same interest. Myself, I do not have credit cards. I have a credit line, and I'm $10,000 in debt to the Royal Bank of Canada. My interest payments is 11%. So nonetheless, if the interest payments more than double, as is the case for the interest payments on the Canadian public debt, is the same principle as for an individual, right? Because if the interest payments more than double while your salary or somebody's salary whose interest payments double stays the same or only increases by 3%, 5%, 10, 15%, how many salaries doubled? Not a lot. I don't know of any. There was a lot of labor pressures, a lot of strikes, unions, but generally the prices have increased by an average of 44.9% overall, while the salaries only increased an average of 4% in the past 5 years. That's the average salary increase. The last time I saw was 4% only. The average salary, somewhere 2%, 3%, but average is 4%. That's not that high compared. That's why the cost of living now is in crisis mode, because the salaries have not kept up with the prices going up. They're quite the contrary. So the same happened for the for the same would happen in the circumstance that the citizen would have to pay, of course, double the amount of interest. So if you or me or somebody else would have to pay double the amount of interest, that means, of course, that that fellow citizen's salary, if it doesn't double, whoever it be, per citizen X, that means that has to cut the budget, reduce the spending, reduce the budget, reduce the spending, reduce the budget, reduce the spending, reduce the budget, reduce the spending. So that's what has to happen in that circumstance. In that circumstance, it has to be reduced. The budget has to be reduced. You have to, a person's gonna have to reduce whatever it is, if it smokes, cigarettes, Netflix, or internet, whatever the case may be, to reduce the internet costs, whatever the case may be, to keep it on whatever case may be with the margins. You have to reduce. Buy less wine, buy less bacon, buy less cheese, don't go to the movies anymore, don't go to the restaurant. So you have to reduce the spending if the interest payments double. Of course, the Canadian economy did not double at all. Only sometimes it goes in the negative. It increased 2%, 3% GDP. It has not doubled, but the interest payments have doubled. The interest paid on the public debt more than doubled in 3 years, from 20. That's the short amount of time. So we're facing a black swan event on the horizon, a public financial black swan. We're facing a public financial black swan event. So paradoxically, my DRT theory, debt refusion theory, or something similar, is the solution. And much of the private citizens' debt also. It's time for the republic. The king is absent, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, and it's time for the DRT, the debt refusion theory. It's time for the debt refusion theory. It's time for the DRT, the debt refusion theory. It's time for the debt refusion theory, the debt refusion theory, the debt refusion theory. The debt refusion theory, it's time for the debt refusion theory. See? It's time for the DRT, the debt refusion theory, which includes monetary integration theory, monetary integration theory. Monetary integration theory is, of course, the financial theory which was implemented in the European Union. So my DRT theory includes monetary integration theory, which is the financial theory which was implemented in the European Union. So my DRT theory, debt refusion theory, includes monetary integration theory, and those monetary integration theories, the financial theory, which of course was implemented in the European Union when the Europeans, the Germans, destroyed their old national central banks. They don't have many countries in Europe. They do not have national central banks anymore. They do not have national central banks anymore. But what they have is, of course, a supranational financial banking institution. Supranational. Hello.
Hello.
They have a supranational. Oh, you're a poodle. Poodles I can pet. Poodles I can pet. Sometimes if it's poodles, I don't mind. I can pet. They don't. Oh, it's a poodle. Except for certain dogs, the fur, the length of the fur, the thickness makes me sneeze. But that poodle was kind of cute. Poodles I can pet, the fur. But other dogs, I start sneezing. I don't get severe allergic reaction, but I get like sneezing or allergic reaction to certain breeds, because of the hair of the dog, depending on what type of hair it is. Except for poodles. Poodles, not at all. Anyways, so my DRT theory includes monetary integration theory, which is the financial theory, which was implemented in the European Union. The Germans, they destroyed their old central banks. The Germans, they destroyed their old central banks, right? And they destroyed their old central banks. The Italians also, the French also. So they implemented. Well, that's another poodle. I think so. It's okay. Yes. Dragon Army, rock and roll. So the DRT includes monetary integration theory, which is the financial theory which the Europeans implemented. So the Germans destroyed their national central banks. The Italians also destroyed their national central banks and all their old currencies, the lira, the franc, the Deutsche Mark. Many countries in Europe destroyed their own national central banks, and they adopted a common currency and a supranational banking institution called the ECB. The European Central Bank is a central bank, a supranational or even multinational, but it's not really international because it's European, but multinational central bank, really, the ECB. It's a European central bank that's what they did. So that my theory, the DRT has integrated in it that financial theory, the monetary integration theory. That's important to remember in my theory. So we're gonna take all the public and the private debt, including I'm going to explain the DRT, and again, is the only solution due to the fact that we pay so much interest that the interest payments have doubled. It's not sustainable. You realize we're close to a public black swan event, a public black swan event, a potential collapse, a potential collapse. So it's a potential collapse, It's a potential collapse of the finances of Canada, There's a potential collapse of the public finances of Canada, So there's a potential collapse, of the public finances of Canada, of the public finances of Canada, There's a potential collapse of the public finances of Canada. But my DRT theory is the only solution, Is the only solution, for what it is, the public-private partnership, the DRT debt refusion theory. So again, my DRT theory includes monetary integration theory, which is the financial theory which was implemented in the European Union. So we're going to take all the public and the private debt, and once again, it is something that's the only solution or something very similar to it. Wow, there's so many cars. There's like a log. Anyway, it's going to take it by this side. Be less pollution. Just watching for black ice. Like here, whoop. Oh yeah, that's a skating rink. I just got to watch here, step, So, we're going to take all the public and the private debt, including my $10,000, your $10,000, all the debt, public and private, all the debt, public and private debt. All that money, we're going to convert it into US dollars. Canada, coast to coast, all the public private debt, including my $10,000. All that money, we're going to convert it into US dollars. That money is going to be the initial money supply for a new central bank. All that money, public private debt, my 10,000 included, is going to be the initial converted to US dollars, because the US currency still is top currency in the world still, but lots of challenges. Maybe a new currency with the BRICS, and they're formulating with the yuan and whatever financial dealings they're making, because the old order is no longer. We have to forget. The world has changed, in the past 5 years. The globalization and all that's pretty much over for now, It's multilateralism and regionalization, economic, political, military, regionalization. Now that's what's happening, and that has been happening during COVID in the past, let's say, more than 44 months. So the DRT theory for the North American collective, for North America, I'm speaking first and foremost, of course, is by DRT theory. Canada first, Canada coast to coast, Canada coast to coast, Canada coast to coast, Canada coast to coast, Canada coast to coast. So that's what it is, Canada coast to coast. All the debt, public and private, all the debt, public and private, all the debt, public and private. We're gonna convert it to US dollars, including my 10,000, yours, ours, all the public-private debt converted to US dollars, preferably simultaneously to implement the DRT theory, my debt refusion theory, which includes monetary integration theory, preferably simultaneously, At the same time, implemented Canada-US joint, Canada-US joint, Canada-US joint, Canada-US joint. Just like the establishment of the NHL, National Hockey League. That's like the establishment of the NHL, National Hockey League. Like the establishment of the National Hockey League, the NHL, National Hockey League. Like the establishment of the NHL, PVHL, go, Victoire Go, Professional Women's Hockey League, NBA, because they're not really national. The National Hockey League is actually binational, just like my vision, the Dragon Army, parallel complementary covenant with the Dancing Goddess Army, took public-private partnership, North American institutions, primarily binational. We don't need the border. It's time for the border to go. It's time to focus on coast to coast, ocean to ocean, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. It's time to focus on coast to coast, ocean to ocean plateau, 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 coast to coast, ocean to ocean, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, That's what it is. So all the debt, public and private, all that money, Canada-US joint, is going to be the initial money supply for a new currency, for a new bank. We're going to establish a new central bank, North America, Canada, United States joint. If they will, Mexico, if they will, you have to leave the door open for North American countries. Jamaica, Haiti, Paradox of Cuba, and other countries of North America, the islands. Bahamas, they're part of North America, but fundamentally, North America. Wow, look at those big icicles. Oh my gosh, look at that one. Wow, that is really big. That's a big icicle. Wow, look at that. That is so big. Wow. Anyways, I got distracted. I would turn, I wasn't sure, because sometimes I got it close from far away, my vision gets blurred. So I wanted to see that that's what it was, but wasn't sure. Then I turned, because I got close, I see that's icicle. Sometimes my vision gets blurred from afar, but I see well from close. I gotta check it up. Optometrist, lots of medical for scars and eyes, I guess. And besides that, I'm in good health. Good health. Just and before Asperger's, there's no medication, but for the public financial crisis now, my medication, the DRT theory best, debt refusion theory best. So we're gonna take all the public and the private debt, That's going to be the initial money supply for a new central bank. We're going to set an interest rate level of 10%. We're going to create a new, they're called the UE, U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot unit, U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot unit. The U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot unit. The UE. The U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot unit. The creation of the UE. Of course, new central bank. We're going to set an interest rate level of 10%. It could be less, 3.33, 7.18, 6.1, 9.3, 3.33, 1.56, below 10%. Below 10%, but not more. So all the debt, public and private, we're going to refuse it. All the debt, public and private, we're going to convert to US dollar. We're going to create all that money, public-private debt. It's going to be the initial money supply for a new central bank. And we're going to issue a new currency based on the value of the US dollar, based on the value of the US dollar. We're going to set that 10% interest rate level, and of course it's going to be a value of the US dollar, the UE. With that money, we're going to be able to rebuild the infrastructure of North America, build more hydroelectric dams, build those 44 tunnels, the number after 43 before 45, 44 tunnels, construct 44 tunnels inspired by the Cheyenne Mountain Complex and the Montreal underground village city in terms of a thermonuclear war, in case of a thermonuclear war. for the continuity and the survival of the North American civilizational complex based on some protocols, some documents which I've of course written in the past more than 7 years on by hand or on USB keys, which are somewhere in my dragons there, but mostly dictated in the past years, months and weeks, and today orally in an oral I'm doing this video, putting it on YouTube as a YouTuber, artist, athlete, philosopher, and geopolitical theoretical analyst. And Tears was dancing is a favorite sport, and with that money, we're gonna be able to build more complexes like this. See, this is new financing, and we're gonna be able to lay the first bricks for the building, and more of the on the Canadian-U.S. border, the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, 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 and the Dancing Goddess Army, where it could be the Forgotten Goddess Temple, and we're going to build more infrastructure, more hydroelectric dams, and we're going to mass finance citizens to work out, train, exercise. We're going to mass finance citizens to work out, train, exercise. We're going to be mass finance citizens to work out, to train, to exercise. And I see here's going very well. Wow. Last time I passed 2 weeks ago, it seems like they're making fast progress, really fast progress, so that's good. Hey, really good. Hey, LOV to the construction workers with brains and muscle. LOV to the construction workers with brains and muscle. LOVE to the construction workers with brains and muscle. We're going to build the arena here, which was financed. So we're going to be able to build more public spaces like that, like this one, public spaces, and build some Dragon Army choppers. Where the helicopter I know that is going. Looks like it's going southeast. With the red and the green, the dancing goddess and the dragon. Look at that red flash, and it got some green. So for the Dragon Army, that's red. For the dancing goddess army, get that 2-in-1. That's green. Get that DJ Dragon Army 300 helicopters, public-private partnership on 300 helicopters, 300 machines, and big machines, big tools, and here it is. Gotta get it 10 million from the government of Quebec. 10 million from the government of Quebec here for this construction of this arena. Very good. And I used to do volunteering a lot for holidays in the old arena. So my DRT theory, we're gonna be able to do lots of good with that. And there's 10 million, and here it is from that government of Quebec, and here's from the government of Canada, which is provincial joint Canada, and this is 6,200,000, 6.2 million. So if we add it up, unless it's the total given there, but no, I think we have to add it up. So that's 16 million for the building, I guess, or just the building, or just over a recreational sports and recreation center, construction of a sports and recreation center. Go. It's cool, it's fun, and I like to volunteer, so I volunteered a lot before COVID. Lots of volunteering before COVID, even during COVID, but now we're kind of coming out of COVID in many ways still, we kind of go out of COVID in many ways still, but that's what it is. And that's the DRT, debt refusion theory, for the creation of the universal exchange unit. That's my call to all willingly loving to support the implementation thereof, and it's something which we got to work on, as Quebecers, Canadians, North Americans jointly. Take that no right in the 21st century, build and construct and implement my total mobile defense theory system, or total mobile TM. Total mobile TM defense theory, one of my theories for defense, because my initiatives, protocols, their implementation, including the aforementioned DRT, which I've just discussed, are strictly and foremost for the security, liberty, prosperity, defense, and rebirth, a unit and some LOVE with that, of the North American civilizational complex of North America, or of the North American Collective. Let's get that North American Collective Workers' Party, NACWP, throw it up. rock and roll, and it's strictly or foremost only for defense, security, service, prosperity of the collective North American civilizational theory. And I cannot discuss over much and too much in details the theory, because it's a military defense strategy theory as an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist. Aspie with Asperger's was mediocre, average, and so-so at some things, but certain things, geopolitics and war, and the study of war and geopolitics is a must, because war is a major geopolitical event, if not the major, right? Along with economic, diplomatic interactions and deals and alliances and all the alliances in history and whatever have you. So me, my geopolitics specializing in the 20th century, but of course overlapping on a day-to-day basis in the 21st century. And of course my total mobile defense theory, TMD, Total Mobile Defense Theory, TMDT, and sometimes it goes TMDTS. Four acronyms, sometimes 5. Total Mobile Defense Theory, TMDT, or TMDTS, Total Mobile Defense Theory System, because it's a system really to be implemented in 1-300 new mega trucks, be able to be deployed 24/7 across the North American complex, and of course to be aligned with the railroads, especially the newly formed, which goes all the way to Mexico, Kansas City, CKPC, Canadian Pacific, CPKC, Canadian Pacific, Kansas City, which they merged to form the first time where railways are linked all the way to mid-Mexico, all the way deep into Mexico, the country of Mexico, not New Mexico, the state, but Canada, US, Mexico. We have for the first time since 2023 the merger happened between Kansas City Rail and Canadian Pacific. They form now one entity, and they merged. And for the first time, before you could go US, Mexico, Canada, US, but never the three countries before 2023 were linked by a common railroad. There had to be bypassing, between different railway operators. So there's some details and some questions, but nonetheless, that's how I envision the total mobile defense theory, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, strictly for defense, security, and service, Dragon Army protocols, and based on my political philosophies and principles, and not personal, my own sufferings, my own financial stress at the moment, because I've been depressed, suicidal, I've struggled, I've suffered, but I live with scars and trauma and memory loss and RA. But mostly my work in the past more than 7 years, it's what's the most important for today: geopolitical, athletic, artistic, and mostly geopolitical work, which I've presented just now, the DRT, and of course my fellow citizens there doing a little bit of that skating, which is always fun. And I wanted to paint, that's what I wanted to paint, a little bit of the gray areas to put some color. I'm just gonna go check how a little bit of that skates is. And I love skating, it's kind of nice, and I'm gonna switch a little bit to that French, and gotta go. Well, it looks okay, I guess. I'm gonna go check, and I would have loved to paint. If you bring me the permission and the slips and the paint, I would have loved to paint on all this. Some red, blue or red. It looks nice. Come on. Yeah, not bad, I guess. It's always fun to skate a bit. I love skating, but I don't have skates. I just remember moving from a moldy place. I had skates. I had to throw them out because they were rusty. I don't even remember when I skated last time, really. I just remember. But I had skates. I just remember moving a few years ago from a moldy place, and I have like blackouts, retrograde amnesia symptoms, and some memory loss, stuff like that. So that's not that important. What's important is mostly my work today, and for tomorrow, and my dream. And you're my family, pledge your allegiance, my dream for the North American Collective Civilizational Complex, the North American Civilizational Complex, and that's what we gotta get doing with that. And sometimes we just gotta get on that stars. That's Orion there. So if that's Orion, that's Scorpio, right? Because it's always on the opposite of Orion is the Scorpio. So if I can place Orion in the sky, which that's Orion there, the 7 stars, 4 and 3 in the middle, that's Orion. I know how visible it's not that visible on the camera, but with the eyes I kind of see a bit, although blurred, you know. It's kind of a paradox. The paradox of my side is in the night I seem to see more better or far off than during the day. It's like during the day, after like 10 meters, I see less. But at night, it's kind of, I see the stars better. It's like paradoxical paradox. Maybe there is something with the eyesight that makes it so that the night, you know, I can see better or far off. Unless at close by, while during the day I see very well close range. And at night I see kind of good afar off. It's kind of strange. It is kind of strange, but I guess maybe that's what happens with sight, you know. With sight, it's what we see sometimes, optical illusions, you know. There's less illusions when I go on the mountain, that's for sure. So the DRT, my second home, I don't think I'm gonna go today. I think because yesterday it was more than 5 hours, so tomorrow we're gonna go tomorrow for sure. And some work, and here's the, gotta turn my head left or right, you know, cross the street prudently. Percival, that's the name of the street here in Montreal West. So the DRT theory, which I just explained, is the all these some brothers and sisters or something similar to it. Yeah, or something similar to it, you know, something similar to it, something very similar to it. That's what it is with that, and that's what it is for that, you know. So I gotta get doing like that. So yeah, I just try to. I just wanted to check a little bit of the Scorpio. I can't see that well. I think it's a bit cloudy, but I can't see Scorpio that well. Scorpio is not that visible due to the clouds, but nonetheless, kind of know where it is because it's always opposite Orion. The Scorpio's constellation and Orion are opposite in the sky, so they're always opposites. So by knowing Orion, you can basically classify all the other constellations by just looking at Orion. So if you can find Orion, which is kind of the easiest for most, I don't know really that, but I'm just speculating. But Orion is of course the 7-pointed stars, you know. So that's what it is, rock and roll. For the stars on the sky, you know I sing it at the trance. Hey, where the firefighters, butchers, bakers, nurses and the electricians, plumbers on the door, Hydro-Quebec go on the lanes. Those cooks flipping burgers in the fast food, burgers and cheeseburgers. Gotta give me some bacon, gotta give me some LOVE, so that you know that you see in holiday and harmony. I'd I be at the sea. For the spellbind, rock and roll out of your mind, rock and roll out of your mind. Do a left and do a right, for the spell and for the sight. Hey, that's a holiday, that's right. That's a holiday, that's right. For the left or right on purpose. For another, that's the purpose. For another left, I see. For another left, you be. And you know that trickle down that sees. Hey, gotta switch it to the French. Cause we in La Belle Province. Ready for a little bit of French. Just gonna say my gratitude and sing a little bit of rock and roll and here in Quebec, Canadian, North America, you know, we made the great linguistic compromise of the North American Collective, you know. We made the great linguistic compromise of the North American Collective. We made the great North American collective compromise of the French language, and we continue to do it. Sometimes, it's give and take, but we made it so far. Also, with my brothers and sisters, across North America, not just neurodiverse, but neurodivergent. With myself as a neurodivergent, I always got to build bridges, my fellow citizens, for neurotypicals, but to others as well, my brothers and sisters, blacks, black men, black women, who constitute, of course, 13.3 of the population, including, of course, my neighbors, and all my other brothers and sisters across the North American civilizational complex, across North America. I put on the table what I put for everybody else. First and foremost, kisses, some hugs. Money I don't have, so can't contribute in such a manner, but if I would be financially well, I wouldn't be reserved or have any reservations, because we rather just address, do concrete gestures, fight racism by action. Here it's pedestrian, see, pedestrian. Supposed to get priority there, but you gotta be careful nonetheless, because you don't get priority, but you're supposed to. So you just gotta be careful, because sometimes the brakes malfunction, It's something which we gotta be mindful ourselves, in the public, So that's what we gotta be doing with that, and gotta be grateful, and to my brothers and sisters again, for blacks, the North American collective. The North American collective, It's just by action sometimes, it requires, it's super important to put on the table certain actions and activities, which of course are underlying, but nonetheless, that is the point, to make an effort in certain circumstances, like I said, just to make an effort sometimes and be on the discretionary side, that sometimes we have it in us, certain discriminations which are not totally, they're subconscious. Sometimes they're subconscious, we're not fully aware of them, so we gotta be constantly working on those matters, because they're subconscious, and we might not be fully aware even ourselves, that we have them and that they're present. So it's always a little bit of vigilance and a little bit of prudence, and I'm gonna go straight hydrated, but it's something which we gotta do, The shows comes up, we gotta do X, Y, Z, so that's what we gotta get on the do. We gotta get on the X, Y, Z, and turn our head left and right here, and beware of black ice, So that's what we gotta be doing, and that's what we gotta be meditating about, singing about, loving about. Super important to get a little bit of that LOV, because it's not all about the money. Billionaires, give some charity. NFL, National Football League, NHL, National Hockey League, NBA, National Basketball Association, MLB, give some charity. Give some tickets to the public workers, public sanitation workers, public doctors, nurses, doctors. Give them a little bit of charity, Not charity necessarily, but as a gesture, Also reduce the cost of the tickets. Order for all ALL, the 4 major sports leagues, reduce the cost of the tickets by 44.9%. That is my call, to reduce the cost of the tickets by 44.9%, That's what it is with that. That's what it is with that. We gotta get it on the do, so that's what we gotta get. Some hydration. Gotta salute the train conductor. See how my mind works. Having Asperger's, and one of my special interests is geopolitics. I know that train's going west, coming from the east going west. On the other side, the other direction is going to go east. But nonetheless, I interjected and I put it in a geopolitical perspective from a security defense geopolitical analysis. Protocol is, of course, it is open for potential sabotage, you know. It is open for a potential sabotage. You know. Those things are open for a potential sabotage. Espionage, sabotage, or public transport. Public transport, the infrastructure, the public transport, the infrastructure, and the public transport. So, it's all a privilege, you know. It's all a privilege which we have. So I'm gonna go get a little bit of hydration. Oh yeah, so grateful for this. Think about it, just to build it, to have this water here. Just to have this water here, you know. So much work underneath, public workers, the aqueducts, the sewers, the brains and the muscle. So I appreciate it because I'm working out, training, exercising, and it's time to hydrate. Oh yeah. Oh. Now we're switching a little bit of that French now. Qu'est-ce qu'on appelle province already. Et voilà, on est rendu, on fait une marche d'entraînement, méditation, votre dragon arc-en-ciel, je vous encourage à faire de l'entraînement physique à Québécois et Québécoises. L'entraînement physique a été sur ma médecine et thérapie de choix avec la gratitude. Je commence. Mon loyer est payé, ma facture d'électricité est payée, j'ai du café, j'ai du thé. Pas beaucoup de thé qui me reste, mais il me reste du café quand même. Puis j'ai payé mon loyer, c'est le plus important pour le mois de février. J'ai payé mon loyer, j'ai payé ma facture d'électricité, ayant payé ma facture d'électricité, puis mon loyer. C'est bien sûr, ayant payé mon loyer, ayant payé ma facture d'électricité. C'est quelque chose de plus important, bien sûr. Hydro-Québec, les travailleurs du passé, du présent, puis du futur. Du rock'n'roll de bisous. Bisous, chatouilles, câlins. Puis merci pour avoir construit tout ça. La lumière chez nous, puis dans le public, pour que je fasse l'entraînement physique plus en sécurité. Puis la sécurité, il faut que ça soit parallèle avec la liberté, puis moi-même. Un individu du collectif nord-américain, québécois-canadien nord-américain, avec conditions de neurodivergence, de l'autisme, de malfonctionnel, de l'Asperger, fait que j'ai des intérêts obsessifs, puis dans certaines choses, je suis moi-même, comme d'autres Aspergers, les Aspis, qui ont cette condition de neurodivergence qui n'est pas une maladie mentale, encore une fois, c'est quelque chose que notre cerveau, il procède différent, il est neurodivergent, place de neurotypique, fait qu'il faut toujours que je construis, bâtis des ponts avec les neurotypiques, parce que cette condition de neurodivergence, ben, ça fait qu'on a certaines caractéristiques, parce qu'il n'y a pas de médicaments, c'est pas quelque chose qu'on peut traiter, c'est quelque chose de comprendre, puis faire de plus en plus, avoir ces ponts, bâtir ces ponts avec les autres, puis avoir cette entente dans le cas que, bien sûr, les Aspergers, on peut être très bons dans nos intérêts obsessifs. Les intérêts obsessifs, ça varie, bien sûr, ça peut être bien des choses, tellement de choses, des intérêts obsessifs, mais c'est pour moi-même, en tant qu'Aspi, c'est moi-même, bien sûr, c'est la géopolitique, l'entraînement physique, la danse est mon sport préféré. Ici, c'est les piétons, tu sais. Va falloir que je fasse attention, comme je viens de voir, tu sais. Parce qu'ici, il est censé le ralentir. Vous voyez, parce qu'ici, c'est pour les piétons. Fait qu'il faut juste faire attention aussi, comme le conducteur citoyen qui il a pas arrêté, a essayé de freiner, mais j'ai vu qu'il n'était pas en mesure de freiner bien comme rapidement. Donc, j'avais fait un effort moi-même parce que toujours, je dois être vigilant. On doit être vigilant quand on traverse la rue parce que des fois, les freins fonctionnent mal. Si les freins fonctionnent mal, c'est possible, bien sûr, que le conducteur pèse sur l'accélérateur par erreur. C'est possible, bien sûr, que ça pèse sur l'accélérateur, tu sais. À la place de peser sur le frein, là, tu sais, c'est possible que ça pèse sur l'accélérateur. C'est toujours des choses, bien sûr, que moi-même, tu sais. Avec ma condition de neurodivergence, il faut moi-même que je suis prudent, tu sais, que j'ai cette prudence pour me mettre en mesure de... pour la prudence de moi-même, puis les autres aussi, parce que je suis dans le public maintenant. Fait que j'ai une responsabilité additionnelle que j'ai pas chez nous aussi. Je reste chez nous, mais c'est pas la même chose. Fait que... juste me donner une petite seconde, je vais juste fermer mon sac parce que j'ai un sac à dos, fait que... un peu. Bon, fait que je dois le mettre dans... Je dois le mettre quand même mes gants parce que bon, avec les gants, mais ça en prend des gants. C'est comme je disais tantôt, mais cette condition de neurodivergence, ça fait que je dois quand même partir et construire des ponts moi-même, tu sais. Les ponts moi-même, bien sûr. Les ponts moi-même, bien sûr. Les ponts que je dois construire. Puis c'est toujours des ponts que je dois construire, bien sûr, dans cette convergence de neurodivergence. Puis c'est des choses que je dois, bien sûr, faire attention. Parce que je vis avec une hypervigilance, tu sais. Je vis avec une hypervigilance. Puis cette vigilance, bien sûr, ça fait que j'ai moi-même, bien sûr, de cette vigilance, prudence, puis ma liberté, ma sécurité, mais il faut que ça y va en harmonie avec les autres aussi. En harmonie avec les autres, tu sais. C'est toujours donner, recevoir, qu'on donne, recevoir, puis c'est toujours bien sûr que de faire un effort, tu sais, pour la compréhension, puis comme je dis, mon ami anonyme qui m'avait donné le livre, puis dans le livre, ça disait que des fois, mais c'est comme les Aspergers, les Aspis, les autistes, me considéraient comme des extraterrestres un peu, ben c'est car c'est dû au fait que les interactions sociales, puis le certain savoir des normes de la société, puis de la conduite, des protocoles, des interactions sociales, ça peut être quand même plus difficile pour les autistes, pour les Aspergers, parce que notre cerveau, tu sais, il fonctionne différemment. Fait qu'on a de la misère avec ces choses-là. Mais venez me parler de la géopolitique. C'est mon royaume, c'est mon domaine, puis j'y passe des heures par jour. Hein. Le matin, après l'entraînement physique, après un couple d'heures, je retourne chez nous, j'en fais encore un couple d'heures. Fait que c'est 24 sur 24, c'est ça, avoir des intérêts obsessifs, mais c'est pas les intérêts obsessifs qu'on a vraiment, les autistes hautement fonctionnels, les Aspergers. On a des intérêts intenses, ces intérêts spéciaux. Puis moi, c'est ma trinité, c'est la géopolitique, l'entraînement physique, le sport, l'entraînement physique que je préfère, c'est la danse. Mon sport préféré, c'est la danse. Ça va ensemble, puis le rock'n'roll. Le rock'n'roll, fait que cette trinité d'activité, c'est 24 sur 24, ça prend vraiment une routine au quotidien, puis c'est vraiment quelque chose que je fais du matin au soir quasiment. Puis maintenant, tu sais, je fais la chorégraphie de danse dans ma tête, ou j'envisage, ou je fais avec la tête, ou avec la main, ou des choses comme ça. C'est que ça produit ça, des fois à l'intérieur, puis à l'externe, où on peut avoir des mouvements un peu bizarres aussi du corps. Fait que c'est juste des caractéristiques des autismes obsessionnels, des Asperger's, qu'on n'est pas tout à fait prudent, tu sais. Pas qu'on soit prudent, mais qu'on n'est pas tout à fait compris. Ça peut être mal compris, ces choses-là. Il faut nous le dire plus directement. Nous, les Asperger's, il faut nous le dire plus directement. Tu sais, comme des fois on peut offenser ou on peut être trop direct, nous aussi. C'est pas parce qu'on veut offenser, moi-même en tant qu'individu aspi, mais c'est des caractéristiques quand même que une grosse majorité des aspis qui sont neurodivergents comme moi-même le possèdent. Puis cette chose-là, c'est pas parce qu'on veut offenser ou parce qu'on n'a pas de sensibilité, on n'a pas de compassion, mais on montre la compassion par des actions, mais puis des fois il faut nous le dire plus directement. Puis des fois on a de la misère avec certaines choses, on peut les prendre du sens littéraire, tu sais, comme des choses. Va-t'en d'ici, toi, va-t'en d'ici, on va. Tu sais, Naspi va partir, tu sais. C'est des choses. Ouais, c'est l'Asperger, c'est une condition de neurodivergence qui a quand même, tu sais, j'ai souffert beaucoup, j'étais en dépression, j'étais ci, puis ça, mais c'est juste le comprendre, puis après ça, faire la gestion des symptômes. Tu sais? Faire la gestion des symptômes, parce qu'il n'y a pas de médicaments, tu sais, c'est pas quelque chose qu'on peut donner des médicaments pour, tu sais, c'est juste. Puis une autre caractéristique des Asperger's, on a de la misère avec l'espace personnel, tu sais, la distance de la communication. On a tendance puis de s'approcher tellement proche, super proche de la personne, même proche de un couple de centimètres là, de la personne, du visage de la personne. Fait que ça peut, tu sais, ça peut brusquer un peu, ça peut intimider, ça peut causer angoisse aussi, là, tu sais, c'est des choses qui sont mal, tu sais, c'est mal compris, tu sais, c'est mal compris. C'est mal compris, tu sais, c'est juste ça, c'est pas parce que c'est une condition de neurodivergence. C'est la neurodivergence, juste regarder quelque chose. Waouh, c'est du bas art, ça, je trouve. Je sais pas si c'est de l'art ou c'est. Ça a l'air de l'art. Ça a l'air à quelque chose d'artistique. Je vais jeter encore. C'est de l'art? Qu'est-ce que vous en pensez? Ça va jusqu'en haut, c'est comme des bidons ou comme des. C'est comme des bidons, mais. Je suis pas vraiment sûr c'est quoi. Ah, c'est des potes de fleurs, là. C'est des fleurs, je pense. Ah, c'est pas de l'art, c'est des fleurs. Ah, je pense que c'est ça. Hein, c'est du change, quoi. Et ouais. Bon. Puis, en tout cas, sur l'autisme hautement fonctionnel, Asperger, ce que je vis avec, j'ai accepté pendant un couple d'années parce que ça faisait bien du monde, des gens qui m'ont diagnostiqué, mais je l'avais pas accepté. Là. Je dis, mais non. Mais pour ça, je viens de voir, j'ai 93% des symptômes. Fait que j'ai Asperger, j'ai l'autisme hautement fonctionnel, je suis neurodivergent, je dois vivre avec, je vis avec. Fait que. Fait que je vis avec. Je dois vivre avec, comme on doit vivre ensemble. L'individu puis le collectif. Puis je suis bien content qu'il y ait une entente. C'est juste 30 jours, là, mais des tarifs. Il a acheté. Puis c'est quand même 25% sur Integree. Je suis bien content qu'il y ait eu un résumé. Là. Puis je dois quand même, tu sais, avec mon oncle Legault, mais je suis pas tout à fait 100% en accord. Je suis pas un caquiste, hein, moi-même, mais quand même, mon oncle Legault, il y a quand même une sagesse que je dois suivre. Je dois partir avec ma sagesse qui se dirige, qui se tourne autour de la géopolitique, puis au fait que j'ai prévu la situation actuelle qui se déroule en ce moment en 2019, tu sais. C'est plutôt ça, fait que je dois faire correspondance quand même, puis tu sais, c'est sûr que j'ai votre dos. Hey, travailleurs publics, hein? Merci. Merci les travailleurs publics pour avoir ramassé les poubelles hier chez nous, puis le recyclage, les fermiers, les boulangers. Merci à mon santé rock'n'roll ou plombier. Les plombiers, les boulangers, les plombiers, dans les buanderies, les chefs de cuisine, les pompiers, les boulangers, dans les boulangeries, les pompiers, dans les chefs de cuisine, ceux qui font du ramassage, les poubelles de la sanitation publique, les pompiers, merci amour, rock'n'roll pour les pompiers, les ambulanciers, dans le transport public, l'Hydro-Québec, bien sûr, ceux qui sont dans les entrepôts, dans les chemins de fer, les transports publics. Faut que je rock'n'roll pour les camionneurs aussi, tu sais. Faut que je pense aux autres aussi. Puis, en tant que philosophe artiste, en analyste et théoricien en géopolitique, mon seul stress, angoisse, et financièrement, je vis un stress maintenant. Je suis en crise financière, je peux le dire, tu sais. Financièrement, j'ai pas d'argent, mais j'ai payé mon loyer. J'ai payé mon loyer. Je suis curieux de savoir si ça appartient à qui ces bâtiments ici. Ça dit à louer, www.kar, je vois pas si loin. Faut que je la misère, je vais m'approcher. Je dois vraiment voir un optométriste. C'est paradoxe, mais le soir, on dirait que je vois mieux de loin que le jour. Le jour, je n'étais même pas capable de voir la pancarte, je pense. Fait que c'est karmel.ca. Vous pouvez aller voir, vous vérifier ici. Faire des vérifications vous-même. Mais je me pose parce que c'est une crise de loyer, mais je dois dire, mais c'est ça, c'est les travailleurs en construction, hein, qui construisent les bâtiments. Ici, je vois qu'il s'en vient un autre, puis je suis un fan, sérieusement, je suis un fan des travailleurs en construction, les compagnies, mais plus les travailleurs que les compagnies, parce que ça en prend de l'administration, ça en prend de la bureaucratie, ça en prend de l'administration, c'est ça, là. Ça en prend de toutes choses. Moi, je peux bien faire des choses, du nettoyage, je peux en faire, j'en fais, de la cuisine, je peux en faire, j'en fais, du rock'n'roll, je peux en faire, j'en fais, de l'entraînement physique, je danse. Puis la géopolitique, c'est vraiment mon royaume, mon domaine, au point que j'ai prévu qu'est-ce qui se passe maintenant en 2019. J'ai la preuve, en 2019, j'ai conclu qu'il va y en avoir une guerre mondiale, une confrontation internationale, puis c'est ça qui arrive d'une grosse partie, c'est ça qui arrive dans le monde depuis 2019. Puis bien sûr, j'avais prévu la situation actuelle, d'une manière générale, pas à chaque détail, là, mais en même temps, j'avais prévu une conflagration internationale. C'est sûr que c'est pas à chaque détail, là, mais quand même, pas à chaque détail, mais qu'est-ce qui se passe dans le monde maintenant, je l'avais prévu en 2019. J'ai la preuve pour. J'ai des vidéos en ligne de 2019, en octobre, en novembre, parce que c'est ça que je fais au quotidien. Des fois, comme aujourd'hui, j'ai passé comme 4 heures, plus que 4 heures, là. J'ai bu 2 cafés, j'ai fait un lavage parce que j'ai pas fait. Hier, j'ai laissé mon ami anonyme. Merci pour la sécheuse et puis la laveuse. J'ai une laveuse et une sécheuse, pas la mienne, mais j'utilise. Fait que j'ai de la gratitude pour ça. Mais je dois remercier, tu sais, quand même. Fait que j'en ai fait une. D'habitude, je fais pas mardi, mais aujourd'hui, on est mardi le 4, mais j'en ai fait une. Fait que je me suis mis à boire du café, puis à un moment donné, je regarde la géopolitique, puis comme hier, puis au quotidien, des fois, je me perds. Je peux passer 5, 6, 7 heures en ligne, ou même plus, juste à faire des analyses, la géopolitique, et puis en regardant la radio, la chaîne, bien sûr, des radios, puis des choses comme ça, de la radio, d'autres choses qui sont, bien sûr, de la radio, des choses, des nouvelles, puis je fais des analyses, puis des révisions, qu'est-ce qui se passe du point de vue du Québec, de la TVA, ou d'autres chaînes d'information, Radio-Canada ou d'autres, le CBC, CTV, bien sûr l'anglophone, francophone ou anglophone, là, ou CNN aux États-Unis, Fox, parce que je regarde la gauche, la droite, du centre en étant centriste, mais quand ça vient de la géopolitique, il faut quand même oublier que vous soyez de la droite ou de la gauche ou au centre. Parce que ça, c'est mon royaume et mon domaine, puis je peux voir tellement de points dedans qu'il y a des choses que bien des gens, des détails manquent. Ils peuvent manquer ces détails-là. Ces détails où c'est possible, détails où c'est paradoxe. Ces petits paradoxes qui peuvent être quand même un point important. Parce que moi, c'est ça mon royaume, mon domaine, c'est la géopolitique. Puis la géopolitique, ben, ça, on peut le définir, c'est un univers comme les interactions politiques, diplomatiques, militaires, économiques, entre des divers pays, des diverses régions, des diverses civilisations. Puis nous, au Québec, on a fait le grand compromis linguistique pour avoir la continuité de la paix dans le collectif nord-américain, part et quart. On constitue un collectif de civilisation émergente. On n'est pas tout à fait divorcés, mais on est distinct, on a des distinctions avec l'Occident. Puis maintenant, bien sûr, avant que j'oublie, je veux discuter de la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, mais avant ça, encore une fois, la gratitude. J'ai payé mon loyer, j'ai payé ma facture d'électricité, go Hydro-Québec, go. Et la théorie de la refusion de la dette, ça vient du paradoxe que j'ai l'autisme fonctionnel, l'Asperger's, et que mon intérêt spécial, c'est la géopolitique. Et donc, dans cette géopolitique, bien sûr, cette convergence de la géopolitique, bien sûr, qui se passe maintenant, du point de vue pour le Canada, puis pour le complexe nord-américain, Canada-États-Unis, si on veut, mais on peut élargir dans un contexte le Mexique. Puis bien sûr, le Québec dans le Canada, dans l'Amérique du Nord, le Québec dans le collectif nord-américain. Fait que la TRD, c'est théorie. TRD, c'est théorie, R, refusion de la dette. TRD, la théorie de la refusion de la dette. Puis il dit que c'est la seule et unique solution qui peut nous sauver en ce moment de la crise financière où qu'on est rendu, parce que l'année, pourquoi je me prononce de même, c'est quand l'année passée, on a payé 46,5 milliards d'intérêts sur la dette publique. 46,5 milliards. Je répète le chiffre, c'est 46,5 milliards. 1 milliard, c'est en 9 zéros. Fait que c'est 46 000 millions qu'on a payé sur la dette publique l'année passée, en 2024. OK? En 2020-2021, le montant, c'était 20,3 milliards. 20,3 milliards fois 2, c'est 40,6. 20,3 milliards fois 2, c'est 40,6. 20,3 milliards fois 2, c'est 40,6. Fait que 20,3 fois 2, c'est 40,6. 20,3 fois 2, c'est 40,6. Donc, ça a plus, si vous regardez les chiffres, une petite calcul mental, des mathématiques, un petit calcul mental, ça veut dire que juste l'intérêt qu'on paye sur la dette publique, c'est plus que double. Ça a plus que doublé en 3 ans, depuis 2020, 2021, 2024. 2023, 2024. En 3 ans, là, ça a plus que doublé cette année de 20,3 milliards à 46 points. C'est sûr, à cause de la COVID. Puis moi-même, je dis souvent, parce que je l'ai eu la COVID, je t'avais bientôt de célébrer, marquer 5 ans depuis que j'ai survécu la COVID. Depuis que j'ai survécu la COVID. En février, mars 2020, je dis souvent, je suis mort dans ma grotte de dragon arc-en-ciel, je suis en train de renaître. Je suis mort dans ma grotte de dragon arc-en-ciel, je suis en train de renaître. Je suis mort d'une manière que je dis, je suis mort comme ça, mais je suis mort, je peux dire, je suis mort, je suis en train de renaître, puis rien que je veux retourner en arrière, je vis pour aujourd'hui avec l'espoir pour demain, puis j'ai l'Asperger, l'autisme fonctionnel, je suis neurodivergent, mais je suis aussi un analyste et théoricien en géopolitique. Je peux dire excellent parmi les excellents, de la crème. Car, bien sûr, j'ai prévu la situation actuelle. En 2019, j'ai prévu qu'il y aura une conflagration internationale, qu'il y aura ce changement dans l'ordre établi par des conflits militaires, puis par des conflits économiques. Bon. J'ai la preuve en ligne. J'ai la vidéo, j'avais prévu cette citation. En général, bon, vis-à-vis de la dette publique, encore une fois, ma théorie de la refusion de la dette, ça sort de cette malédiction qui est une bénédiction, je peux dire, mais même si j'ai souffert beaucoup, je me laisse à table la théorie de la refusion de la dette. Parce que, oubliez que je sois androgyne, monsieur, madame, 50-50, homme, femme, je me considère androgyne, je fais partie aussi de la communauté LGBTQ, parallèlement à la communauté de neurodivergents, mais j'ai quand même certaines forces et dans certaines choses, je suis quand même bon, excellent et super bon dans ces choses-là, dans ces domaines, si on veut, ce royaume qui est la géopolitique. Puis je peux discuter, puis faire des analyses, puis des révisions, puis regarder certains détails que ben des gens le manquent, peuvent le manquer, puis regarder sur la dette publique, là ça a plus que doublé l'argent qu'on paye. Fait que la théorie de la refusion de la dette, c'est la solution. Il n'y a pas d'autre, quelque chose de très similaire, puis je la mets sur la table parce que c'est moi qui l'ai développé. Merci à une amie, comme une connaissance, qui m'a donné un livre en 2018 pour Noël, pour le 24-25 décembre. Je l'avais lu un couple de fois, je l'avais écrit dessus, fait que j'étais un peu sur les conspirations, mais il y avait de l'information sur le système bancaire financier de l'ancienne Égypte, ancien Rome, Babylone, Sumérie, puis ancienne Chine, puis ça allait de l'Empire britannique, puis jusqu'où ça mettait beaucoup de points sur la crise, la grande crise financière qui a eu lieu entre 2007 et 2010. 2007 et 2010. Donc, pour en faire dans ce tout, ça l'a fait bien sûr dans ce tout que ça a bien sorti une bonne chose, parce que ça m'a partiellement inspiré, bien sûr, pour concocter puis faire le développement de la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, qui inclut la théorie d'intégration monétaire. Puis encore une fois, mais vu que l'intérêt seulement, il a doublé sur la dette publique, fait qu'imaginez-vous un point, si l'intérêt double, imaginez-vous en tant qu'individu, moi j'ai pas de carte de crédit personnellement, j'ai une ligne de crédit à la Banque Royale Canadienne, je suis moi-même 10 000 en dette. Fait que j'ai une dette de 10 000. Je paye 11% d'intérêt. Mais imaginez-vous, en tant que citoyen, citoyenne, que vous avez des cartes ou quelqu'un d'autre des cartes de crédit, puis l'intérêt que vous avez payé en 2020-2021, c'était 156 $. Puis là, l'année passée, en 3 ans, ça a plus que doublé. De 156 à 333. Fait que si ça va de 156 à 333, c'est plus que le double, sans que votre salaire ne double. Puis le salaire, c'est la majorité des salaires ont augmenté d'un couple de pourcentage. La moyenne des croissances du salaire salarial en 5 ans, 2019-2024, c'était à peu près 4,4%. 4,4%, c'est moins que 5%. Là. Mais mettons, votre salaire augmente de 5, 10, on va dire 15%. Mais votre intérêt que vous payez, ça double. Si l'intérêt que vous devez payer double, ça veut dire qu'il va falloir couper dans le budget. Il va acheter moins de fromage. Il va falloir réduire les coûts, soit vous faites faillite. Pour payer l'intérêt, parce que sinon ça continue d'augmenter. Hein? Si vous ne payez pas un mois, vous manquez un mois, mais il y a de plus en plus, ça devient de pire en pire. Fait que c'est ça le problème. C'est que l'intérêt a doublé. Fait que c'est ça le problème. C'est que l'intérêt a doublé. Le montant de l'intérêt, c'est double maintenant. Le montant de l'intérêt, c'est double. C'est pour ça. Le montant de l'intérêt, c'est double. T'sais? Fait que c'est des choses comme ça, bien sûr. Le montant de l'intérêt, c'est double. T'sais? Le montant de l'intérêt, c'est double. C'est plus que le double. Fait que la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, c'est la seule et unique solution. Il n'y a pas d'autre solution maintenant. Vous pouvez vous ostiner tant que vous voudrez, mais c'est la TRD ou quelque chose qui ressemble à ma théorie de la refusion de la dette c'est urgent, c'est une crise. Ben, c'est mieux qu'on n'a pas eu des tarifs de 25%, puis qu'il y a eu une pause de 30 jours. Il a dit, on va voir en mars. parce qu'il y a eu du consensus, il y a eu du donner du moi, mais en théorie, on n'a pas besoin de la frontière. Qu'est-ce qu'on a besoin? C'est un passeport commun, une unité d'échange commune, puis une intégration vis-à-vis à l'Union européenne. Pour le 50e État, 50e, ça je sais pas, là, ouais. C'est des choses à discuter plus profondément parce que pour l'individu, la sécurité et la liberté de l'individu, ça a changé. Qu'est-ce que ça a changé? Puis comme je dis, ben, le roi est absent quand même. Le roi est absent, mais c'est le temps pour la République, sinon de quoi. Puis pour l'Union de l'Amérique du Nord, dans un collectif, avec une défense commune, parce que on doit baser la défense plus de côte à côte. Les aéroports puis les ports, c'est plus important que la frontière. Puis on doit faire un recensement. On doit faire un grand recensement nord-américain, puis un recensement, voir qui est venu, qui a vécu ici depuis 2017, faire une base de données, tu sais, depuis 2017, puis faire une base de données. Fait que c'est des choses comme ça qu'on doit faire, une base de données, puis un gros recensement, puis un gros audit économique, commercial, financier aussi. Fait que la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, comme québécoise, ma famille, des fois dysfonctionnelle, c'est la seule solution. Donc, je vous l'explique maintenant. Ma TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, contient la théorie d'intégration monétaire, ce qui est la théorie que les Européens ont fait de l'implémentation en Europe. Les Européens, dans les années 90, l'Allemagne, ils ont détruit leur banque centrale, les Deutschmark, les Français aussi, les Italiens aussi. Ils ont détruit leur banque centrale, ils ont fait la création d'une banque centrale commune. Fait que ma TRD, ça contient, en dedans de ma théorie, est intégrée la théorie d'intégration monétaire, ce qui est la théorie que les Européens ont fait l'implémentation des années 90. Fait qu'on va prendre toute la dette publique-privée, mon 10 000, ton 10 000, toute la dette publique-privée canadienne, on va convertir toute la dette publique-privée canadienne dans la devise des États-Unis, dans la devise des États-Unis, dans le dollar des États-Unis. On va le ramasser ensemble. Tout cet argent-là, on va faire l'addition avec les États-Unis, l'argent des États-Unis. Canada, premièrement, c'est sûr. L'implémentation de la théorie de la refusion de la dette au Canada, premièrement, mais ça peut s'étendre. Ben, c'est de préférence faire l'implémentation de ma théorie de la refusion de la dette, comme l'établissement de la Ligue de hockey nationale du hockey, qui n'est pas vraiment nationale, c'est binational, c'est Canada-États-Unis, puis la nouvelle Ligue professionnelle du hockey féminin, la LPHF, Ligue professionnelle du hockey féminin, LPHF, la Ligue professionnelle, Ligue de hockey professionnelle, ou HP, Ligue professionnelle de hockey féminin. Donc, à Montréal, c'est la victoire, go victoire. Fait qu'on va prendre toute la dette publique-privée, tout cet argent-là, ça va faire la création de nouvelles banques. Toute la dette publique-privée, ça va faire la création de nouvelles banques. Fait que tout cet argent-là, ça va être dans les milliards. De préférence, Canada et États-Unis en même temps, Canada premièrement, sinon. Puis ça peut s'élargir avec le Mexique, l'Haïti, le Cuba, c'est un paradoxe, mais Cuba, ils font partie de l'Amérique du Nord. Mais premièrement, Canada et États-Unis, de préférence. Fait que tout l'argent, la dette publique-privée va être l'argent initial pour la création d'une nouvelle banque. Fait qu'on va faire la création d'une nouvelle banque, puis on va faire la création d'une nouvelle monnaie qu'on va mettre en circulation, qui aura la valeur du dollar des États-Unis, le UI. On ne s'obstinera pas, en anglais c'est pareil. Le UI, donc on ne s'obstinera pas avec les Anglais parce que ça est la même chose. Là. UI en anglais. U point unité, E point échange, U point universel. U point unité, E point échange, U point universel. Le UI. U point unité, E point échange, U point universel. L'unité d'échange universelle. L'unité d'échange universelle, on va mettre un taux d'intérêt de 10%. Ça peut être moins, mais pas plus. 10% maximum. Ça peut être 3,33, 7,18, 4,18, 6,1, 9,3, 1,56. En bas de 10. Un taux d'intérêt après ça de maximum 10%. Fait qu'avec cet argent-là, on va pouvoir construire plus de centrales d'Hydro-Québec, rebâtir les ponts, les aqueducs, l'infrastructure du collectif nord-américain de l'Amérique du Nord, bâtir, construire 44, le chiffre qui suit 43, avant 45, c'est 44, bâtir, construire 44 tunnels, dans le cas d'une guerre thermonucléaire, et bien sûr, pour le souterrain, comme inspiré par le village souterrain de Montréal, puis inspiré par la montagne de Cheyenne. La montagne de Cheyenne. La montagne de Cheyenne. Bien sûr, inspiré par la montagne de Cheyenne. Dans la montagne de Cheyenne. Et bien sûr, dans le cas d'une guerre thermonucléaire, pour la continuité du collectif, collectif nord-américain. C'est basé sur cette initiative de construire, bâtir 44 tunnels à travers l'Amérique du Nord est basé sur une de mes écritures, un de mes documents relatifs dans le cas d'une guerre nucléaire et pour la continuité du collectif de civilisation de l'Amérique du Nord, du collectif de civilisation de l'Amérique du Nord, du collectif de civilisation de l'Amérique du Nord, du collectif de civilisation nord-américain, du collectif de civilisation nord-américain, collectif de civilisation pour la continuité du collectif. Pour la continuité, le document s'appelait pour la continuité et la survie du collectif, l'initiative de partenariat public-privé. L'initiative de partenariat public-privé pour la survie et la continuité du collectif nord-américain dans le cas d'une guerre thermonucléaire. Fait que c'est pour ça qu'il faut bâtir ces 44 tunnels. Il faut juste attendre un peu avant qu'ils passent. On doit saluer. Salutations, tassez-vous. Amour, salutations, donnez-leur un bon massage. Financez les millionnaires ou pompiers, les infirmières, puis les travailleurs publics, un beau spa, un beau massage, s'il vous plaît. Soyez charitable un peu. Pour les services publics, moi j'ai du rock'n'roll, des châteaux et des bisous, mais il faut envoyer un peu d'amour. Mais fait que l'implémentation de ma théorie, TRD, théorie de la rediffusion de la dette, on va pouvoir faire bien des choses pour le public, bâtir des centrales d'Hydro-Québec, financer les gens à faire l'entraînement physique. Financer les gens, j'ai créé mon propre système d'entraînement physique qui ne requiert aucun équipement. Ça fait du bien. Fait que financer les gens à l'entraînement physique, financer les gens à l'entraînement physique, financer les gens au tourisme, le tourisme, parce que ça fait du bien. Et ouais, financer les gens au tourisme, bâtir les 44 tunnels, construire les 44 tunnels et bâtir d'autres centrales d'Hydro-Québec. Pour la défense, la sécurité et le service, bâtir aussi le temple de la déesse oubliée, construire le Colisée du peuple nord-américain, le Colisée impérial du peuple nord-américain, le Colisée impérial du peuple nord-américain sur la frontière canado-états-unienne. Construire, bâtir le Colisée impérial du peuple nord-américain pour les événements sportifs sur la frontière canado-états-unienne, puis le temple de la déesse, puis la pyramide, écarlate, rouge. Ben, écarlate, c'est rouge dans le fond. Rouge, la pyramide, la maison du dragon, puis le temple palais du peuple arc-en-ciel, puis financer les gens au tourisme, à l'entraînement physique, bâtir les 44 tunnels, rebâtir l'infrastructure de l'Amérique du Nord. Fait que faire l'implémentation de ma théorie, on va pouvoir faire un bon travail public, puis du bon investissement dans le public aussi, pour le 21e siècle, parce que fondamentalement, quand je dis prêter allégeance, les gens, vous êtes famille. Prêtez allégeance, les gens, vous êtes famille. Prêtez allégeance, les gens, vous êtes famille. C'est fondamentalement un appel à un partenariat public-privé. Mon rêve se manifeste comme le royaume de la déesse et du dragon. Se manifeste comme le royaume de la déesse et du dragon. C'est fondamentalement un appel à un partenariat public-privé pour le collectif de l'Amérique du Nord, ou pour le collectif nord-américain que j'appelle le grand collectif de civilisation de l'Amérique du Nord, ou le grand collectif de civilisation de l'Amérique du Nord. Oh, il y a du vent. Fait qu'avec ça, on finit avec du rock'n'roll bilingue. Avec ça, on va finir avec du rock'n'roll bilingue. Un peu de rock'n'roll. Ensemble, pour un monde en santé. Il y a du vent, il y a de la lune. There's the moon. And there's the skyscraper. Gotta get it for the X. Gotta get it for the right. Gotta get it for the sight. Gotta get it for the right. Gotta get it for the right. Gotta get it for the right. Gotta get it for the height. Gotta get it for the lights. Gotta get it for the sight. Gotta get it for the left and right. Gotta get it for the extra right. Gotta get it for the fitness. Gotta give it for the extra. Gotta give it for the ace and the praise. Gotta give it for the left and the right and holidays. Gotta give it for the you and the push-ups and the do. Gotta work out a little something. Gotta work out a little something. Little left or right. Gotta push up. And the squats. Working out, you know I love it. Love to see that people working out. Training on that exercise. J'aime voir les gens qui font l'entraînement physique. Ah oui, je vous prescris des pompes. Gotta prescribe you some push-ups. With some of those marching steps and squats. Gotta prescribe you some push-ups. With those marching steps and squats. Gotta do the left or right. Gotta do the left or right. Gotta do the left or right. Gotta suit the right and sight. For the sight and not the light. For the satellites. Satellite for satellite. For the trip and for the bee. For the left and right you see. Cross the street, head up in harmony. Hey, you know we gotta get it. Butchers and the plumbers, electricians on the road. Conductors on the train. Choo-choo, that's the pain. Conduction, that conductors. On the lane up in the fame. On the lane up in the frame. Frame, holidays go insane. Gotta be a little that brain. For the left and right and push-ups. For the screamer left and double. Rock and roll, you know we trouble. Rock and roll, you know we trouble. Rock and roll, you know we trouble. Rock and roll, you know we double rock and roller. Le trouble du rock and roller. Qu'on dépense, puis ça chante, puis on dépense. Puis là, à droite, à la gauche, je regarde pour que je tourne. La tête quand je dépense. Et les jambes de la métropole, je suis à Montréal, on est une île. Qu'on s'entoure de la rivière. Ah ouais, dégage, puis elle danse. Ah ouais, dégage dans la transe. Ah ouais, elle danse. De la belle province. Comme québécoise. La lune, il fait fret. On est en février 2025. Oh yes, we gotta do it. Oh yes, we gotta do it. Oh yes, me and you, let's go. Gotta sing it for the dip, gotta sing it for the swing. And you know we gotta get it. And you know we gotta see it. See it to believe it. That's the moon and that's the deal with it. Deal with it. What's the deal? What's the spiel? Gotta sing up in the real. Up in the real. Up in the veal. Up in the melody, you know the sentence, that's the scream in harmonies. For the bend the knees, you see. Et voilà. Faut qu'on chante bien la neige du coin c'est de la métropole. Hey, le ciment du béton. Du béton, ça tape. Les mains dans les airs, les orteils. Bouge. Café plein de liqueur. Let's go see what's in the fridge. See what's in the fridge. Oh, rice for somebody. That's nice. I have rice. Somebody can take that rice. You can work out with this. Du riz. Hey, I'm just gonna check where the rice is from. And I'm not gonna take it. I'm gonna leave it for somebody else. So that's nice. See where the rice is from. Let's check. Oh, rice. 4 kilos. That's Like 10 pounds, right? Doesn't really say, interestingly enough. Where does it say in the back? It doesn't say. Oh, it's spiced. Rose hill. I guess I gotta check it online. Interesting. Doesn't say where the rice is from. Interestingly enough. I'm just gonna leave it for somebody else. Just gonna leave it for somebody else. They can take it. There you go. You can take some rice. Je vais prendre le riz dans un sac. That's empty, but I'm gonna leave the rice there in the fridge. Je vais laisser le riz. J'ai beaucoup de riz, j'en ai pas besoin. Puis j'ai la nourriture. Je vais juste checker comme ça. I just wanna check. People can take. I wish I could fill it up. I would fill it up myself, but you know, this last time I gotta put it. So here we go. That's it. For today, rock and roll, grateful, thankful, rent, paid, electric bill, Belga, food and coffee, make LOVE with consent, hug like never hugged before, avec consentement, donnez-vous un câlin comme jamais avant, puis mon là et puis mon facture, puis that's it, that's all rock and roll.